the first time I caught her. The forest was silent except for that faint electrical hum outside my cabin wall. It was the kind of sound that doesn't belong in the woods, low and steady, like a mosquito in your ear. I pulled back the curtain, and there she was, Karen, squatting under the glow of the moon, her manicured hands gripping the cord she'd snaked into my outlet, charging her pristine white Tesla like a parasite. My chest tightened, rage pushing me awake faster than any cup of coffee ever could. When I stepped onto the porch, she didn't even flinch. She just yanked the cord out, tossed her hair back, and smirked like I was the intruder. Her words cut sharper than the night air. "Don't look at me like that," she said, her voice dripping with entitlement. "You don't even use half this power. It's practically wasted." The audacity made my blood burn. "That's my property, Karen," I shot back. "You're stealing from me." She laughed, a laugh that rattled something deep inside me, sharp and cruel like fingernails down a chalkboard. "Stealing? No, it's called community sharing. You'll get used to it. The HOA always takes care of its own." With that, she strutted back to her Tesla, heels clacking on the gravel like nails on a coffin. I hadn't moved out here for this. I'd bought the cabin for peace, for silence, for the way the sunrise bled through the tall pines and made the wooden beams glow. Out here, the air smelled like sap and rain, not exhaust fumes, and my only neighbors were supposed to be deer and the occasional hawk. But the cruel joke was that the property line sat just close enough to the edge of an HOA-controlled neighborhood, and in that neighborhood, Karen ruled like a queen. Thin, sharp, with a mouth that never softened, she was the kind of person who turned everything into a battlefield. The first week I moved in, I met her not through a welcome basket or handshake, but through a demand. She knocked on my door with a clipboard in hand, pointing to my freshly painted red door. "That color isn't on the HOA-approved palette," she barked, as if she were issuing a ticket. I blinked, stunned. "I'm not in your HOA," I told her, but she wasn't listening. "Everyone here falls under our rules," she snapped, her eyes drilling into me like twin knives. "Don't play dumb. We'll be watching." And with that, she left, her perfume lingering in the air like smoke after a fire. At first, I thought it was harmless. Every neighborhood has its difficult personality, right? But the truth came fast and sharp. Anonymous notes slid under my door warning me of violations. HOA letters with fake fines arrived, threatening legal action over my woodpile or my chimney smoke. The gossip slithered through the streets, Cynthia whispering that I was some outsider trying to break the community apart. And all the while, Karen's Tesla gleamed under the streetlights, a trophy she paraded, fueled by the electricity she stole from me in the dark. The next morning, I tried to confront her calmly, thinking reason might cut through her arrogance. "Karen," I said, stepping into her driveway, "I saw you last night. You can't plug into my cabin like that." Her eyes narrowed, her lips curling into a smile that wasn't a smile at all. "Prove it," she said flatly. I gritted my teeth. "I don't need to prove it. Stay off my property." She stepped closer, her perfume sharp, suffocating, her voice dropping to a whisper. "Careful," she hissed. "People who make trouble around here don't last long." That night I sat on my porch, the forest shadows stretching long and heavy around me. I should have felt safe under the stars, but instead, I felt watched. Her house sat across the road, her blinds drawn but her lights burning like eyes that never blinked. The silence pressed down on me, broken only by the memory of that humming Tesla charger, the sound still buzzing in my skull, the fear mixed with anger until I couldn't tell which one was stronger. Deep down, I knew Karen wasn't finished with me. She was just getting started. The letters kept piling up like some sick collection. Every morning I'd walk out to my mailbox, hoping for a package or even a regular bill. But instead, I'd find another HOA notice shoved inside with the red stamp of violation. They accused me of everything: unapproved foliage growth, unauthorized stove, even noise disturbance for using my chainsaw before dinner. It was absurd. But what made my blood boil was the smug little seal at the bottom, like their harassment was somehow official law. I crumpled the papers and tossed them into a growing pile on my kitchen table, But with each one, the weight of their games pressed harder against my chest. One morning, after getting a letter that threatened me with a $200 fine for unauthorized outdoor lighting, I snapped. I marched straight into Karen's driveway where she sat with Cynthia, sipping their lattes like queens on a throne. My voice cracked with rage as I waved the letters in their faces. "You think this is funny?" I barked, throwing the papers onto the hood of Karen's Tesla. Karen barely looked up from her phone, scrolling as if I didn't exist, while Cynthia covered her mouth and laughed under her breath. "If you don't like the rules," Karen finally said, "maybe this isn't the neighborhood for you." Her words sliced through me, cold and sharp. I told them again, my voice shaking with fury. "I am not in your damn HOA!" But my protests rolled off them like rain on glass. Cynthia leaned back, her sunglasses sliding down her nose, just enough for me to see the sparkle of amusement in her eyes. "He's getting so worked up," she whispered in mock sympathy. "It's kind of cute." That single word made my blood rush to my head, my fists tightening at my sides. "Cute, you're harassing me," I shouted, but Karen only smirked as if she'd won some secret victory. "It's called compliance," she said. "Learn it." At night, the harassment didn't stop. I'd hear footsteps crunching outside my window, or low whispers carrying across my porch, just out of reach. Once, I stepped outside and found cigarette butts scattered in the gravel by my steps, though I hadn't smoked a day in my life. Another night, I caught Dale, that lumbering dog of a man, leaning over my fence with a tape measure in hand. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" I demanded, storming toward him. He didn't even flinch. "Just ensuring setback compliance," he said smoothly, as if he had the right. I shoved him back, my patience gone. "Get off my land before I call the cops." But when I did call, it was worse than useless. The officer who showed up didn't even bother hiding his boredom. I explained how Karen had been stealing my electricity, how Dale was trespassing, how the letters were nothing more than harassment. He listened, shrugged, and said, "It's a civil matter. Work it out with the HOA board." Then he climbed back into his cruiser and drove off, leaving me fuming in my driveway. Their smug little smiles replayed in my mind like a nightmare I couldn't wake from. It wasn't just bullying anymore. They were testing how far they could push me, and they knew the law was on their side. The final straw came in the form of my electric bill. Triple the normal amount, the numbers blaring at me like a slap across the face. I checked my meter, running my hand along the wiring, and that's when I noticed it. A thick extension cord snaking through the bushes. My heart raced as I followed it step by step, my fist trembling until I saw exactly where it led. Right into Karen's garage. Her Tesla sat there glowing, plugged in, humming with stolen life from my cabin. The sight of it was enough to send fire through my veins. I yanked the cord free and stormed straight up to her front door, pounding so hard I thought the wood might crack. She answered in her robe, her hair wild like I'd just interrupted her beauty sleep. "You're done," I growled, my chest heaving. "Stay the hell off my property." Her lips curled into a mocking smile, her eyes flashing with faux innocence. "Or what? You'll cry about it online?" My fists clenched so tight they hurt. "Next time, it won't just be the cord I cut." For the first time, her confidence slipped, just for a second. But then she recovered with that same arrogant tilt of her head. "Careful," she whispered. "The HOA doesn't take threats lightly." The hum started just after 2 in the morning. Faint at first, then steady, crawling across the walls of my cabin like a reminder that peace was never mine to keep. I sat in the dark with the window cracked, every muscle in my body wired with anticipation. I had waited for this moment, knowing Karen's arrogance wouldn't let her resist the easy feed of free electricity. She crept up the side of my cabin like a thief, though she didn't even try to hide it anymore. The glow of her phone screen lit her smirk as she plugged the cord into my outlet, her Tesla's logo shining like a smug eye. She strutted back to her house, certain she was untouchable. What she didn't know was that I had prepared something she couldn't see. I had spent nights in my workshop, hunched over circuits, wires, and a surge protector that I rigged with more care than I'd ever given a piece of furniture. It was safe for me, perfectly balanced to shield my system, but for anything sucking power without consent, it was lethal. My heart raced as I stood by the breaker, hands shaking, sweat dampening my shirt. This wasn't defense anymore, it was offense. For weeks I had let her drain me dry, mocking me with every stolen kilowatt. Tonight I was done. When I flipped the switch, the night split open with a crack so loud it echoed off the trees. Sparks danced in the air, sharp and angry, followed by the unmistakable smell of burning plastic, drifting through the cool forest breeze. Karen's Tesla headlights flickered wildly, flashing on and off like dying eyes before they went completely dark. A thin trail of smoke curled up into the sky, black against the pale glow of the moon. I stood frozen for a second, staring at the glowing outlet, my breath catching in my throat. The silence afterward was almost holy, the kind of silence that comes right after thunder. Then her front door slammed open and her scream cut through the night. "What did you do?" Her voice carried across the street, sharp and panicked, shattering whatever calm I had felt. She bolted toward the driveway, robe flapping, hair wild, the sight almost surreal under the yellow streetlight. She dropped to her knees beside the smoking Tesla, hands fluttering uselessly over the charging port. As if she could reverse what had just happened, I stepped onto my porch slowly, steadying myself against the railing, my voice low but deliberate. "Looks like your battery didn't like freeloading." Her head snapped toward me, eyes blazing, mouth twisted into pure fury. "You monster! Do you have any idea what you've done? That's a $15,000 repair!" The tremble in her voice betrayed the panic she was trying to hide. I crossed my arms, forcing myself to stay calm even though adrenaline was roaring through my veins. "Then maybe you should stop stealing from people who aren't part of your little kingdom." She stomped toward me, jabbing her finger in the air. "I'll ruin you. The HOA will ruin you." Behind her, Dale stumbled out of the house, his face pale as he took in the smoke rising from the car. "Karen, what happened?" he asked, his voice cracking. "He sabotaged me," she shrieked. "He fried my Tesla on purpose." Cynthia appeared next, arms folded, eyes darting nervously between us. I pointed to the blackened cord lying limp in the dirt. She was stealing power again. This time it bit back. Cynthia shifted on her feet, her confidence slipping. Maybe we shouldn't get involved," she muttered, her voice barely above a whisper. For the first time, Karen didn't look like the untouchable queen of the HOA. She looked small, fragile, the glow of her superiority shattered along with her car battery. But standing there, I could feel something heavier than victory settling in my chest. I had crossed a line, one I couldn't uncross. As Karen stood frozen, eyes burning with a rage I knew would not fade, I felt the air around us shift. Something told me this wasn't the end of the fight, only the beginning of something darker, sharper, and far more dangerous than I had imagined. What would you do if your neighbor kept stealing your power? Was frying Karen's Tesla too far? Or exactly what she deserved? Do you think the HOA will back off now or come back even harder? Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, because the next chapter in this war is coming soon.